I'm Marisa Norcross.
And I'm Dave Freund, and this is The Next Page.
Hello. How is
Hello
everything
there.
going this week?
Things are going very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, very well. We've had some snow,
We've had a lot of snow.
so some of us worked from home
Yep.
one day. Some of us worked from home part of a day, but it was a great week. Very
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
And we're actually recording on a Friday instead of a Wednesday, which is like, whoa.
It's different.
It is.
So we're at the end of the week. It's almost the weekend.
Do you have anything exciting planned?
Not really. We've got swimming lessons, which we actually really love going. The whole family goes.
Good.
And I think even my parents are coming this week because they like to watch.
Okay, that's cool.
Isla puts on a good show.
Good.
And just getting, I know everyone's probably sick of listening to me talk about getting the house ready, but cleaning up the house, we have an appointment with a photographer on the 19th to get the pictures taken for the listing. So it's kind of the final hour here.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, and the Olympics, I'm really excited to be watching. I watched a little bit last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge Olympics fan. Winter Olympics better than Summer Olympics.
I like them both.
I like the skiing. Okay.
Yeah, I figured you liked the skiing. I love the ice
I
skating.
do.
The ice skating and the ice dancing.
Yeah, I like that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So what are your plans for the weekend?
Well, last weekend I was in San Diego, so this weekend I got to get back to work and chores and things like that. Bathroom renovations. Still waiting for my countertops.
Oh man.
My tubs around, but oh well.
You're almost there.
Almost there. You can just about, I was going to say taste it, but you can just about feel the tub and the shower type thing.
Is that the
Soon.
last? Is that the last of it? Once that's all in, you done?
Yeah. I mean, we're putting up, there's always going to be little bits here and there to decorate and that type of thing. But we're getting close. We're getting very, very close, and I'm excited about that.
That's great.
Yeah.
So today
we're hitting our stride.
we are. It's part 3 of our 5-part series on John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership. This level is production.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So the post that went out this morning, as folks will be listening to this, this is like the middle of the road in our 5 levels of leadership. We started out with position. That's when we've been given a seat at the table, so to speak. And we're basically using our title to be able to influence people. We got to level 2, which is permission. This is when we start to build relationships with people, and people begin to want to work with us. Now we get to production, and this is really where we kind of develop some street cred, if I can call it that. We're delivering the goods, and people are really beginning to recognize it. It's interesting. Peter Drucker said there are 2 types of people in the business community: those who produce results and those who give you reasons why they don't. And I thought that was a tremendous quote, because all of us have known people that there's people that just get it done, and people that have excuses as to why they can't get it done. Well, a level 3 leader, a production leader, gets it done. And getting it done gives them a lot of credibility with their team and with their organization. And really, one of the laws that I think fits, of the 21 irrefutable laws, that fits this level the best is Law 16, which is the law of momentum. Because it really does, we build on small successes, and even the biggest tasks don't seem like problems. They just seem like opportunities and challenges that we can conquer. So it's a great level. There is a downside to it, and the downside is that there are people that are great producers that are still lousy leaders. So there are people that are really, really good at getting something done, but they can't work well with others. They don't play well with others. And I actually had an acquaintance of mine that was extremely gifted, could do anything that you could imagine somebody could do, from athletics to music, and was just and had a great engineering mind as well, but he could not play well with others. So oftentimes people think someone that can get things done just automatically becomes a leader. No, you still have to have level 1 and level 2, and then add the production at level 3 to fully fit in as a level 3 leader.
Do you have that list of questions that coincide with this level?
I do, right next to me.
Oh, perfect.
In the book. And also, just a reminder, folks, the Amazon link to purchase this book, The 5 Levels of Leadership, is in the show notes, because again, you need to read this book. Everybody needs to read this book. I'm going through it now for the second, perhaps even the third time, and there's just more that you keep getting out of it. So, to know if you're at level 3, I consistently hit targets and goals in my work. Good people always want to work with me and my team. People see me as an expert in my field and seek me out to learn from me. I am constantly setting and achieving higher goals for myself, even when my superiors don't see them for me. Don't set them for me. My performance in my work often carries the team to a higher level. I give my best to whatever I do. I am comfortable with the idea that others are watching how I perform and follow my example. I am known as a problem solver, and I often get difficult tasks done. My work is very consistent on a daily basis. I have systems and routines that help me perform at a very high level. So what you need to do is you need to get 8 or more of those 10 as a true statement to know that you're at a level 3 leader.
And there's a lot of qualifying words too, like people always want to work with me and my team.
Right. And the interesting key there is, and you picked up a great point there, Marisa, it's showing that not only do they want to work with me because I get it done, but they want to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's building on that level 2 part, which is permission. So again, that if these people don't want to work with us, we're not a level 3 we're not a production leader, level 3 leader. We're just a producer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference. And like the individual that I mentioned before, he created tremendous damage in organizations where he worked. Unless he was alone somewhere as a individual contributor, the organizations just were in terrible shape. So it's a great place to be. It has a lot of potential, but it also has some risks as well. And one of the risks that I think really hits us hard is we develop this burden that we have to get it done.
Right.
And that can be a real heavy weight for a leader. A lot of times these leaders can't move out of their own way, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things the stories that I remember, and John Maxwell frequently will tell this story that in his, I believe it might have been his second pastorate, where he grew a church tremendously, and then thought he had done such a great job as a leader, but when he left, the organization started to collapse because it was all about, he didn't move beyond the production level. He hadn't moved to the next level, which we're going to talk about in our next podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But he was just all about him doing it. And the danger that you fall into there is you just feel you have to get it done. And that's a real struggle for a lot of leaders, because most of us were given our seat at the table, so to speak, because we were great producers.
Right. So they feel like a heavy weight of responsibility.
Yeah, they have to get it done. It's all about me. And not in a bad way. It's not that they're consumed with ego in terms of I want everybody to see that I'm doing it. They just, for whatever reason, feel they have to do it. I remember a lot of times in my working career where thinking I needed to be at the plant all the time. Can't really take a vacation because I need to be in constant contact with the plant. Can't really, I need to be there before the shift starts and long after the shift ends. And so what it did was it created tremendous burden, tremendous stress, and really long days,
mm-hmm.
because I kept thinking I had to be the person doing it. And people, I think in many cases, people had no problem letting me do it, because they knew it would get done. They knew it would get done right. They knew I valued them for what they were doing, but what I didn't realize myself was I didn't value them enough to give them additional responsibility, which
Right.
again we'll talk about in our next podcast.
So you shared a list with me of what productive leaders feel like they need to do. They all kind of seem to fall into this category of reaffirming their worth and reaffirming their value. So some of them that I thought were really interesting were that they, hold yourself to a higher standard.
Right.
Make yourself accountable to others.
Yeah.
Accept responsibility for personal results. So it's all very personalized and focused on that pressure of results.
Exactly.
And producing on their own. Sure.
And the reason for that would be the law of the picture. People do what people see.
Mm-hmm.
I can't expect any of my team to do anything that I was not willing to do myself.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm asking people to hold to dates and I don't hold to dates, then I can't be a good level 3 leader.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is, it's this personal accountability piece. If I want my team to be growing and developing, I need to be growing and developing.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times, and I've worked at a level with leaders that were at the level where, for whatever reason, they figured once they got to this point, they were okay, and they didn't need to deliver the goods anymore. And it's wrong. You have to, at least your own personal commitments, you've got to keep them.
Yeah.
And you're right. And I love this one too in that list that I gave you. Remove yourself from situations when you are not effective.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another self-awareness thing. Do we know when we're not effective? And I guess the key would be, how do we know when we're not effective?
Right.
So maybe I'll bounce this back to you a little bit. So what ways can we think of that could help a leader realize when they're not in their strength zone? And I didn't prep you with that question.
Well, I think there's a few different things that you could do. Get feedback from the people you're working with.
Exactly.
I know we talk about that a lot, but I think that's probably the quickest way to do it is to, if you're on a team and you feel like maybe you're not a contributor, you're not an effective contributor, ask the team,
right.
Do I need to be here? Do you need me?
Yes.
Could I be more useful somewhere else?
Right. And the one of the ways that John Maxwell had always shared was, if you have someone on your team that can do the job 80% as well as you do, let them.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than thinking you need to micromanage or do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so and again, at this level 3, there's the tension between giving up things and then that leader that gives up everything. There's a great story in the book about George Washington when he was leading the army during the Revolution. And so General Washington goes up to this, whether it was a fort or something, there was a group of men trying to put a beam up on top of a 2 posts to kind of make the entrance of a doorway type of thing. And so these soldiers are working, and there's this corporal standing there giving him direction, and Washington rides up and he makes some comment to the corporal, about, hey, you should help. And the corporal says, well, excuse me, but you don't realize I'm the corporal. At which time Washington says, no, I actually do know that you're the corporal. Then General Washington gets off his horse, walks over and helps the men hoist the beam up.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a clear case where this leader was given a leader, was leading at level 1, but needed to be at least at level 3 to help his team. So is that constant tension of, am I doing it well enough to be part of the solution, or am I becoming part of the problem because I'm not good enough to do it?
Yeah, I think this is also a really pivotal level because it, it can make or break the team.
Yes.
if a leader is able to master this level, they've done a good job at creating a healthy culture and environment that will
Right.
breed other productive people. We talked about momentum makers. They'll
Yes.
make things happen, and they'll allow others to do the same.
Right. And you need to look for. So we all want to. We want all of us need to be momentum makers. We're the folks that, or these are folks that get things done.
Mm-hmm.
But there's two other kinds of momentum people. There are momentum takers, and these are the folks that just kind of go along for the ride. But that's not the worst. The worst are the momentum breakers.
Mm-hmm.
Where I've worked with people where I could see that they clearly were dragging the team down.
Yeah.
Whether it was an attitude issue or it was that they didn't realize, or it was intentional, but just the constant negativity on a team. Those are momentum breakers.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to either, as the leader, you need to be willing to confront it, try to turn that mindset. And if not, you need to get rid of that person.
Yep.
Because they're holding your team back. Because momentum is huge in any team. And one of the things that I think can kill momentum is if a leader makes a mistake and doesn't admit it.
Mm-hmm.
If we make mistakes. I used to tell people, the difference between their mistakes, on the floor, an hourly worker, and mine is how much it costs the company. Mine are a whole lot more expensive.
Right.
When I make a mistake, but you got to be, or even if it's an interpersonal issue where I spoke crossly to a person, I was rude. Got to go back and apologize.
Mm-hmm.
And make it right. The other thing that I think is a momentum breaker is when we mistake intention for accomplishment or results. We need to gauge ourselves based on results, not plans. And the leader has to model that. One of the struggles that I used to have in my past job was every year we would establish objectives for the company. Well, you need to achieve those. We would have these great objectives, and then sometimes we just never achieved them, and we couldn't figure out why. Well, because we were more focused with setting intention than achieving results, and intention doesn't get you anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So at level 3, the production leader makes sure that they're gauging success based on accomplishment and results, not just intention. I also had a list here, Marissa, of the laws, the 21 laws that I think fit this, and the book bears this out. The law of respect. People naturally follow a stronger leader than themselves. So all of us are looking to follow someone. And really everybody, if we're going to be honest, we're all following somebody. There are people that I follow. There are leaders that I follow. There's mentors that I follow. Because I realize that, like I've often said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yep.
You got to have people ahead of you. The law of magnetism. So this says that who you are is who you attract.
Mm-hmm.
And if an organization can't hire good people, the leader needs to look in the mirror. What's the reputation on the street about your company? And I never realized that there are places, I think is Indeed one of them maybe, where people can comment on companies.
There's a lot of them. I think one of them is called maybe Glassdoor or something like that.
Okay.
Where I think that one's like completely all about rating.
Wow.
The employment situation at a company.
Sure.
Yeah.
And one of the things I used to stress in our supervisory leadership class, we used to have a module that we did on interviewing. And I would tell them, every interview you do is an opportunity to improve your public relations.
Mm-hmm.
I said, how you treat people, if you bring people in for an interview and you don't offer them a job and you don't get back to them, that's terrible.
Right.
If you brought them in for the interview, respond to them.
Mm-hmm.
Thank them. There were, I know when we just filled the position that Hillary has, there were people that were at the top of my list, so to speak. Even though I didn't call them in on an interview, I communicated with them to thank them for the application that they sent in, to tell them we had filled the position. So again, if you're getting the wrong kind of people, look in the mirror, because you attract the kind of people that you are. I talked about the law of picture. People do what people see. The law of victory. Leaders find a way for the team to win, and this is a real key one. In my past, I used to find ways to celebrate monthly achievements, and we would do it with luncheons, donuts, pizza, and wings. I would find ways to celebrate. Maybe it's just because I like to eat. That could be the case. Especially when my last job, when I would get my donuts at Green Hills, because Green Hills donuts are amazing. But anyways, that's another podcast for another day. But I remember one time we had just moved into our new facility, and things were really rough. Financially, they were rough. Production was off. It's just all the things that happen when you move a facility. We hadn't had a celebration in months. The guys just kept saying, did we meet our budget? Did we meet our budget? And one day I just said to the owner, you know what? I'm just going to go out and buy donuts, or I'm going to go out and buy pizza and wings. And when I brought them in, the people said, why? Did we meet our budget? I said, no, we needed a celebration. So sometimes you even have to really work hard to find a way to have a celebration, because people need to feel that they're making progress and they're getting better.
Right.
The law of Big Mo, we've touched on. The law of momentum is huge. The law of priorities. Leaders understand that activity is not necessarily accomplishment. So getting our people, a level 3 leader knows how to keep their people productive. The law of sacrifice, a leader must give up to go up. And this I struggled with for a while. And I've had people that disputed this, when I've talked about this law. But you can't do everything. And you have to, and the way it was worded best was, you have to say no to the good to make time for the best. So you have to really make that hard decision sometimes to say, no, I gotta move on.
Right. Well, I think this comes back to, knowing when the leader is effective and when they're not.
Right.
Because if you're spending time on the things that you're not good at or not effective with, then, it's hard to go up. You need to give those things up to someone who can do them, even if it's only 80% as good as you, if it's something that you are good at.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the example I used yesterday in the session that you joined us with. You can't steal second base until you take your feet off first base. And you're not going to score unless you start running the bases. But if you keep your feet on first base, you're never going to get anywhere. Yep.
So speaking of going up, what can someone do to, if they're at level 3, to prepare for level 4, to move up to level 4?
So what has to happen when we begin to move to level 4 is we need to realize that people are our best assets. We need to begin to truly value people. And so great leaders measure themselves by what they get done through others. Good leaders measure themselves by what they get done. Great leaders are looking at, what can I get done through other people, not just myself. And it really it requires us to develop people in a leadership culture where we're looking not just to get followers, but to now begin to cultivate leaders. We need to realize that growing leaders is the best way for us to advance the vision for our company. And it's not so much checking the boxes of getting things done. It's, how do I develop the people so they can check the boxes to get things done? And I think the big key is that a level 3 leader that wants to be a level 4 leader needs to realize that people development is the greatest fulfillment, brings the greatest fulfillment to the life of a leader. It's not about getting things done. It's about lifting people to a higher level. And if that's your goal, you are well on your way to becoming a level 4 leader.
Right.
Which is what we will talk about next week.
Yep, absolutely. Level 4, people development.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So we already talked about our weekend. So I think we just need to thank our listeners.
Yep.
We're getting good success. We're getting a lot more clicks. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, or right through the Podbean app as well. If you can, write a description, or not a description, write a review, click us, all those good things. So with that, I'm Dave Freund.
I'm Marisa Norcross.
And this was The Next Page.